Well, last week we asked the Deputy Prime Minister whether the 350 children in Gloriavale were safe. We wanted to know if they were still being exploited for child labour, as 2 court cases have now found.
This week, another Gloriavale man was sentenced in Christchurch for historic violence and indecent assault charges. Peter Truss forced young girls to strip naked, pose sexually for photographs, and he beat them with a fence pipe. Gloriavale's leader, Howard Temple, is also currently facing historic sex charges, which he denies. So, after all of this, we went to Parliament to find out what the government is doing to ensure the safety of the children at Gloriavale. On Gloriavale, can you give us an update on the multi-agency response by the government? What is happening down there right now?
Well, it's a tricky area because obviously there are some court proceedings ongoing, and I don't want to interfere in that. But where the courts have made decisions, we've got a multi-agency team which is being supervised by a group of ministers who are making sure that the findings of the court are actually being implemented by Gloriavale.
So are children being exploited for child labour down there now?
Well, the various ministries who are working with Gloriavale will be working to ensure that the rulings of the court are actually implemented.
But that
it is not acceptable for children to be exploited in the way that the court has found that they have been, and so we need to make sure that the court's rulings are actually being enforced.
So a year later from that court's ruling, why can't you stand up there and tell us that children are not being exploited for child labour?
Like I said, the agencies that we've got going in there, I haven't got the most recent update from them, but the agencies that we've got working on that issue have been making sure that the court's rulings are being implemented.
But can you tell me that children are not being exploited right now?
Well, I personally haven't gone to check, but certainly the agencies responsible are tasked with that job.
We've got a cross-government response that is being led by the Regional Public Service Commissioner down here to ensure that there's work that is happening alongside the leadership.
So are those things happening, or are those things happening right now? Do you know that Gloriavale is no longer exploiting children, for example, with child labour?
There's a fair bit of work with various government departments, including Oranga Tamariki, there to ensure that it isn't happening, and the reports that I've seen is that they are working constructively with government departments.
And how can you trust, I suppose, what is going on within that community, given its long history of what we now know as child labour and exploitation and possibly abuse?
Because, as I said, we've got a number of different agencies who are and have been working with them for now over a year to ensure that some of those bottom lines are met. And by all accounts that I receive 6 weekly reports from the Regional Public Service Commissioner, and I can see that there is a will to change from what I've heard. In that
have they changed?
It's a process, and that is what I'm saying.
But it's taken already a year. This is child labour exploitation abuse that we're talking about.
As I've said as well, there are employment court rulings. There's the latest ruling that shows that the women who took the case were not volunteers, they are employers. We are waiting for the other part of that ruling as well, in terms of who then is the employer. But as I mentioned, there is a fair bit of work. There are support services there in place as well for anyone who does report abuse to be able to be dealt with.
But you know as well as I do that this is a community built on power and control, and for people to report abuse from within that community is extremely rare. It's only when they usually get out. So I suppose what I'm asking you is, can you guarantee New Zealanders that the 350 children who are in Gloriavale right now are safe?
We are absolutely working on that.
But that's not a guarantee. I want to ask you about Gloriavale and Oranga Tamariki's involvement there. Can you tell me what's happening down at Gloriavale in your portfolios?
Well, Oranga Tamariki has been working quite closely on the situation. Obviously the safety of those young people is most important. There's a number of things that have been going on, and the situation changes when, recently that one of the leaders there was outed.
And accused of sex crimes.
Yeah, that's right. So Oranga Tamariki is again supporting, making sure that those the young people have the support they need.
And how is it doing that?
Well, it's engaging quite closely. There's somebody down there on the West Coast that is going in there working with the community, engaging with them, making sure that social workers are only there talking to them. So it's quite a comprehensive response.
Do you sort of get that for most New Zealanders, hearing that there are 350 children being exploited in a religious community, also potentially subject to sex abuse, is just an outrage?
Well, yeah, but it's a community, and how do you shut down a community? It's important that the agencies are there doing the job they need to do to make sure that those children are protected.
And are you sure that they're protected?
Well, there has been comprehensive support going in there, yes.
But so you are sure that they are protected and safe?
Yeah, it was only a couple of weeks ago that we had our latest update. We've been meeting regularly with the people who are on the West Coast working in the Gloriavale communities.
But you can't. The Prime Minister can't say they're safe, not being exploited. Priyanka Radhakrishnan can't say they're safe and not being exploited, and it doesn't sound like you can say that they're safe and not being exploited.
Well, what we're doing is putting in the support, making sure that those children are being protected. They have someone to go to. That the Oranga Tamariki is there and is there regularly to make sure that their needs have been looked after.
Is it just too big, and it's gone on for too long now, to get control of and to shut it down?
No, I don't think. Well, it's a community. How do you shut down a community? It's like going into a small town and saying we're going to shut down a small town. You can't. What we can do is hold the people who are perpetrators to account, and to make sure that there is the support in there, both for the young people, the children, and also other people that are affected by what's going on. It is a complex situation, but government agencies, not just Oranga Tamariki, but other agencies are in there as well, supporting the community.
It looks like a multi-generational systemic failure.
Well, look, again, this is a community, and we can't just shut down a community, but we can go in and hold the people who are perpetrators to account, and we can make sure that the young people there are getting support they need.